In every person's life, there come moments of truth when their character and resilience are put to the most severe tests. These trials rarely come when we are ready for them or when we expect them. They befall us in moments of silence and vulnerability, when we feel tired and when the world around us begins to crumble. It is in such moments that life poses the decisive question: are we masters of our own destiny or puppets in the hands of circumstance? Pain does not warn of its arrival. It simply invades our lives. Disrespect does not knock on the door. It inflicts wounds, and the world will not apologize for its cruelty and injustice. In such moments, we have only two paths: to learn to withstand the blows of fate and remain steadfast in the storm, or to allow the waves of life's adversities to wash us off the face of the earth. Becoming invulnerable does not mean displaying arrogance or haughtiness. It means gaining inner resilience, the ability to remain true to oneself no matter what. It means becoming the kind of person that even chaos and destruction will think twice before disturbing their inner world. Such invulnerability is not achieved through shouting and dominance. It is born in silence, in stillness, in deep inner discipline that allows one to build within oneself a fortress that no external forces can shake. The ancient Stoics understood this perfectly. They lived in an era when death was a constant companion, when betrayal could come from the closest people, when power changed like the wind, and comfort was only a fleeting illusion. And yet, they walked through life with amazing calm and dignity, not because their path was easy, but because they learned to train their minds, making them stronger and harder than any life trials. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, ruled a vast empire, experiencing personal tragedies and the loss of his children. Epictetus, a slave with a crippled body, spoke with wisdom and strength worthy of a king. Seneca, a philosopher and statesman, watched his wealth and position in society crumble and lost his friends. But he met death not with fear, but with steadfastness of spirit and unwavering will. Their examples inspire us to seek strength not in external circumstances, but within ourselves, to meet any life challenges with dignity and courage. The invincibility of these people was rooted not in the absence of life's adversities, but in their conscious refusal to allow suffering to define their essence. True resilience is manifested not in the external demonstration of strength, but in a person's ability to act in moments when fate takes everything away. This process begins in the mind. Modern society has imposed the false notion that well-being is achieved through comfort, approval, and control, urging us to chase pleasure and avoid pain and discomfort. However, the Stoics argued that control is merely an illusion, and whoever strives for it becomes an object of manipulation themselves. The only thing that truly belongs to a person is their reaction to what is happening. Not results, not surrounding people, not praise or criticism, but precisely the space between the event and the subsequent action. Realizing this fact becomes the starting point for personal transformation. A person ceases to react automatically, beg for help, or depend on external factors in determining their inner essence. When the need for recognition disappears, those around are confused. When excuses cease, criticism becomes more insistent. When a person stops avoiding pain, it begins to fear them, because it does not know how to deal with someone who is ready to accept it. This is the first principle: do not run from discomfort, but use it. Pain is a kind of forge in which everything weak and vulnerable burns away, and what remains after a long confrontation with pain becomes something that is not subject to the external world. The Stoics, unlike many, did not strive for a comfortable life. Their goal was crystal clarity of mind and spirit. This clarity, they believed, arises only when a person stops suppressing the inner voice that seeks to awaken them to true life. Do you crave strength? Then boldly look your weakness in the face, explore its roots, and accept it as part of yourself. Are you striving for peace of mind? Engage in a struggle with your inner chaos. Do not avoid difficult questions and contradictions. Do you want to gain clarity? Give up the illusory story that life must be easy and cloudless. No one owes you anything, and it is in realizing this fact that your true freedom lies. After all, when unfounded expectations disappear, the opportunity arises to create and build your life as you see fit. When Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength," he was not just writing beautiful lines. He spoke from the depths of his experience, having survived the loss of his beloved wife, commanding armies, and mourning the death of his children. And even in these most difficult circumstances, he found the clarity of mind to wisely govern the state. Such inner discipline and resilience are not acquired from books. They are born in the fire of life's trials. However, most people, unfortunately, avoid this fire. They seek comfort, strive for praise, crave unconditional understanding and love. For this, they are willing to bend to others' expectations, make excuses, and constantly chase after someone. And in this endless pursuit of recognition, they lose themselves. A Stoic will not pursue others, not because they lack feelings, but because they realize that dignity is not a commodity that can be traded for attachment. If someone leaves your life, let them go. If someone insults you, simply observe their behavior. Do not allow their words to affect you. If someone betrays you, learn a lesson from it. Not every situation requires your immediate reaction. Not every insult deserves your attention, and not every fleeting feeling should turn into a stormy response. It is often observed a regrettable misconception when external calmness is mistakenly taken as a sign of weakness. However, true calmness, on the contrary, inspires awe and even horror, because it testifies that a person has already faced life's storms and adversities, stood firm, and did not break. A calm person is not someone who has avoided suffering, but someone who may have experienced inner death, been reborn, and returned to life, armed with iron discipline. This is what makes them practically invulnerable. Not that nothing can hurt them, but that nothing is able to enslave their will. This is the true sovereignty of the individual. Let us recall the example of Seneca, who was sentenced to death. He did not humbly beg for mercy, did not shed tears of despair, and did not try to bargain with his fate. Instead, he coolly slit his veins, accepting death with the same courage with which most people desperately cling to life. The reason for such resilience was that his principles did not depend on circumstances, but were deeply rooted in his essence. As he himself once remarked, "We suffer more in our imagination than in reality." And he was absolutely right. After all, the pain that crushes most people is not physical, but mental. It is the story they themselves invent and attach to their pain. They are hurt, and they immediately convince themselves that they are broken. They are rejected, and they begin to believe in their worthlessness. They are abandoned, and they conclude that they cannot be loved. But it is this belief, and not the event itself or physical pain, that becomes the real prison from which it is so difficult to escape. In other words, not external circumstances, but our interpretation of these circumstances determines our destiny. The second cornerstone of Stoic philosophy states, by managing one's interpretation of events, one gains control over the surrounding reality. Often, people are convinced that someone has inflicted a mental wound on them, but the real cause of suffering lies in the meaning that they themselves have attributed to the actions of the offender. For example, a breakup can be seen as evidence of one's own inferiority, although the true reason for the partner's departure may have been their inability to form a deep emotional connection. The silence of another person can be mistakenly interpreted as rejection, while it may be completely unrelated to the perceiver. A Stoic does not succumb to impulsive reactions and hasty conclusions. They take time to reflect on what happened, seeking to separate objective facts from subjective experiences. It is in this gap between the event and the reaction that the source of personal power lies, because here a person gains freedom of choice. While most people only passively react to external stimuli, allowing others to determine their emotional state, a Stoic prefers to move in the silence of self-control. Instead of blaming others for their negative emotions, they ask themselves, why did I allow this to happen? It is this approach that allows a person to gradually gain invulnerability. The third important principle of Stoicism is to stop waiting for trials from life and start testing oneself independently. This involves early rises when no one sees, diligent training despite fatigue, and a conscious choice of discomfort. This practice allows one to prepare for any life adversities. When a storm breaks out, a person tempered by self-discipline will not falter because they have already encountered similar trials in the process of self-improvement. The fourth stage of ascension becomes detachment, the ability to do one's work with full dedication and then let go of the result. A person ceases to need approval and recognition because their motivation lies not in waiting for applause, but in the process itself. They do not beg for recognition and do not cling to praise. But the real transformation occurs in the fifth stage, awareness of one's own mortality, memento mori. The memory of the inevitable departure from life gives sharpness to every moment. Perhaps it will not happen tomorrow or this year, but one day the finale will come. This awareness makes a person incredibly strong, even dangerous. They no longer waste precious time on trifles and get rid of fruitless fears. They simply exist in the present moment, living life to its fullest. And nothing can shake someone who has reached such a state.